and then allow you, hopefully on your own time, to enjoy some of these treasures that we've managed to collect and preserve and make digitally available. I'm also going to talk today about some of our new initiatives, what the archive has been up to since March, since the pandemic began. And we're going to look at some things that are going to seem kind of funny and familiar, because it's all, examples of Jewish life in Houston during COVID, things that have been happening to you and me in the last weeks and months, but yet are of historical importance. And, God willing, we will look back at this in 5, 10, 20, 50 years. And, people will wonder, how did they manage this? How did they cope? How did Judaism evolve and adapt to the circumstances? And so it's my job, and maybe your job, to help create that historical record for the next generation of scholars and community members. And I'm also hoping that maybe we'll have some time at the end to do some conversational things. Before we do any of that, I want to just quickly spotlight, if I can, Tracy Patterson, who's on the call this morning. Tracy is in a lot of ways the unsung hero of the Houston Jewish History Archive. And Tracy, I've just unmuted you, and I'm trying to spotlight you if I can. But anyway, Tracy is an archivist, and she is in charge of directing all the processing of collections that come in. So if you've donated records to us, chances are great that either Tracy processed them herself, or she gave guidance and direction to the person who did that processing. So please join me in giving Tracy a huge round of applause and thanks for all the great work that she does. It's really fantastic to work with you, Tracy, and we're all really indebted to you. And I know that Nancy Pikus is here, and I introduced Nancy on our first class, but I'll introduce her again. Nancy is our superstar community volunteer. She works with Tracy on the processing of many of our collections. And Nancy has also just started doing some of the oral history work that I'm going to be telling you about later today, which is really exciting. And I don't know, Katie, are you on? I don't think Katie Weber is on today, but we have a third member of our team, Katie Weber, who's a former student, who's come back to do postgraduate work for us in the archive, processing collections, and now creating transcripts of the interviews that we've been doing. So let's jump in. What I want to do, first of all, is show you our website, which I don't know that I've ever done this, actually, that I did it in the first week. Or maybe I did and I don't remember, but here's where we are. So this is the homepage of the Houston Jewish History Archive, and I'll send all these links to Bris Shalom, and they can hopefully share them with the community. So don't feel like you have to frantically write anything down. If you just Google Houston Jewish History Archive, you'll be able to find it. We're about to completely redesign this site and make it hopefully more user-friendly and more aesthetically pleasing than it is now. But it's one of the digital homes of the archive that we have. If you're interested in finding out what's in the archive, right? What collections are there and how can I access them? The easiest way to do that is on the archive's homepage, click on our LibGuide link. And again, it's Tracy Patterson who's done all the work in creating this LibGuide and updating it. This is a reasonably up-to-date, but not completely up-to-date, listing of everything that we have. And so you can see here the collections are organized into categories. individual and family collections, organization and business collections, synagogue collections, rare books, cookbooks. Cookbooks gets its own tab, and then some other materials. So just to kind of walk you through it. And also here's my contact information, and the contact information of my colleague, Amanda Foki, who's the director of the Woodson Research Center where the archive is housed. So if you just want to peruse and see what collections are here, who's donated materials to the archive. So here's a list of some of the individual and family collections that we've received. I know Janice is watching today. Janice, here's your collection, your manuscript number 751. And each collection has a sort of capsule description, what's in it, what highlights or topics does it address. And when we've finished processing a collection, that collection gets a finding aid. So this is our description of what is currently in the Janice Rubin papers. So you can see, and Janice, I hope you don't mind being put on the spot. It's the collection of correspondence, photographs, slides, negatives, programs, news clippings, publicity material, VHS tapes, audio cassettes, compact discs, and a poster. And it's a really incredible collection. We're really delighted to have it and to have worked with Janice. You can see here that as of today, it comprises 2 boxes of material. And each collection, when we're done with it, has a biographical and historical note. So this is our way of letting you, the community, know what's in our collection and why you might be interested for one reason or another in seeing it, whether you are a family member who's doing genealogical research and maybe here's the collection of a descendant, or maybe you're interested in topical research. Janice, among many other accomplishments, is a celebrated photographer and took wonderful photographs of refuseniks in the Soviet Union. And if you're researching that, her collection of photography would be an invaluable resource. Organizations and businesses. Again, here's a list of what we have. It isn't entirely up to date. Not all of the finding aids may be finished, but here they are. If you are going through this and you find a typo or you find a mistake or you'd like to add information, please do reach out to us. We're constantly editing and updating these finding aids with the information that you send us. So this is our LibGuide, and I'll leave you to peruse it more on your own time, but it's sort of the best and fastest way to get a sense of what it is that we have, and also the kinds of things that we're always looking for. Before we move on to another topic, I have a soft spot in my heart for these cookbooks. This is a collection of cookbooks produced primarily by synagogue sisterhoods in Houston, in San Antonio, in Corpus Christi. I wrote an article for the Jewish Herald Voice a year or 2 ago about these cookbooks and why I love them so much. Many of them are just sitting, gathering dust on people's shelves, but it's a wealth of information about women's lives and about Texas Jewish food history, right? What are we eating? How do Texas Jews accommodate Tex-Mex food into Jewish life? How do they manage kashrut or not? Probably my favorite example is the oldest cookbook that we have in the collection is a Beth Israel cookbook from 1911. And there is a recipe in that Beth Israel cookbook for a possum dinner, which is just, peak Texas Jewish cuisine. I really love that one. So here's how you find us on the web. And here's how you get a sense of what it is that we have in our holdings. Now what I want to show you is our digital archives. So we collect materials from families, from businesses, from institutions, and as much as we can, we try to digitize them. It's hard for us to digitize everything. It is a time-consuming process. We have, thanks to a grant from the Stolben Family Foundation, we're able to hire a number of Rice undergraduate student interns each year. And it's them who we look to do some of this grunt work, right? It's not as simple as just snapping a few pictures of an old book with your phone. We use a flatbed scanner. We have a number of flatbed scanners. We have to scan to a certain resolution. We have a tracking system to make sure that we're able to find these files. So while our goal is to digitize as much stuff as possible, we can only do it at a snail's pace, unfortunately. However, having said that, we've been able to win a number of grants that are going to allow us to digitize, hopefully, a lot of really big and important collections. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. So the homepage for this is scholarship.rice.edu. And this is the digital scholarship archive for all of Rice University. So you can see here that I've navigated from the homepage to Cultural Heritage Collections, to Woodson Research Center, to the Houston Jewish History Archives. And I'll just show you a couple of the things that are here. Everything that is here is publicly accessible. You can, as long as you have the link, you can come here and you can view and download all this stuff and view it on your home computer, tablet, phone, whatever. If you want to publish it, right, or repost it, that might be another matter. We have in our Beth Yeshurun archives, which is our largest collection to date, a number of historical scrapbooks, as you can hopefully see here on the screen with me. These have all been digitized and made available online, and they are a treasure trove of historical material about the life of Congregation Beth Yeshurun. As I mentioned, we, right before the pandemic, were about to finalize an arrangement with Bris Shalom to do exactly this. And I'm hopeful that at some point before the end of 2020, we'll be able to resume that project such that we'll get to a point where what you're seeing here for Beth Yeshurun we'll be able to do for Bris Shalom. So you'll be able to go online and download artifacts from Bris Shalom history, just as currently you can do for Beth Yeshurun. So I'll just give you a peek at what this looks like. You click on one of these links and you can see, again, an abstract and a historical description, stuff about rights, the collection, manuscript, collection 722 that it pertains to. And I can, by clicking on view and open, I can grab this thing. So it takes a while to download, so we're gonna let that go. And if I can get it in a minute, then I'll actually open the scrapbook and show you what's inside. Let me pause here while we're waiting for that file to download and just look at a few of the comments in the chat window. Alan Fisherman says, it's always about the food. It is always about the food, right? What's the theme of every Jewish holiday? They tried to kill us, we won, let's eat. Lori Rubin says, I have a small collection of Bris Shalom's plays from way back in the day. I'll start digging them out soon, plus years of newsletters. Fantastic. This is exactly the kind of collection building that we dream of. And Judy Weedman, my dear friend and colleague, who's the librarian and archivist at Beth Israel, says hello. And if you haven't already, you should really contact Judy. Judy and the Beth Israel archives are an incredible, incredible resource of Houston Jewish history from its earliest days. And it's really been a pleasure, Judy, to work with you. So let's see how far along we are in this download. So look, it's still working. This is the danger of doing things in real time is that you have to wait for things to download. Here is not that scrapbook, but another scrapbook that I've already downloaded. So this is one of those scrapbooks that I downloaded off of the website that I just showed you. And you can see here what it looks like. It is a big file, so even scrolling through it sometimes can be a little bit time consuming. But here you go. This is a Hadassah scrapbook, actually, that we were able to acquire from Houston Hadassah. And
We're
look,
not seeing it. We're not seeing it, Josh.
oh, you can't see this? Oh, I see. I know why. You'll have to take my word for it. No, you won't. Just a minute. Where are you? I'm sharing the wrong screen. Acrobat Reader. If I share this, you can see it. So this is a Hadassah scrapbook that I downloaded right off of that website. So these are Houston Hadassah bulletins from November and December of 1970. And one of the reasons why this process takes so long is that it's not enough for us to just capture a scan of this page. This is a large Hadassah scrapbook, right? But we have to actually open up each bulletin and get a picture of every frame, right? So here you probably see some of you folks that you know or knew or remember. So again, the ultimate goal is not just to collect this stuff and keep it locked up in an archive cave, but to make it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. And now more than ever, right, when so many of us are staying home or limiting how we go out and who we interact with, it's more important than ever to make this stuff available online. As I said 2 weeks ago, in normal circumstances, you'd email me and you'd say, hi, I'm interested in coming to the archives and I'd like to see the Beth Yeshurun papers, and we'd make an appointment. Now we're really trying to stay away from that model of engagement for obvious reasons. But if you can't come to the archive, what we want to do is bring the archive to you. Now, we don't only just have scrapbooks available on this site. Let me come back here and back up a second. Again, just bear with me. This is the, perils of doing something over Zoom in real time. I want to share with you this audio recording. My friend Shelby Goodman, let me close Acrobat Reader so it doesn't get in my way. Are you all seeing the Shelby Goodman collection page? Did I go back to share the right thing? So this is an audio recording of Rabbi Max Geller, who was rabbi at Congregation Beth Jacob, the same Beth Jacob where that World War II banner hung. And Shelby was a family friend of the Cantor Philip Gorodetzer, and actually had, let me see if we have the record. Show you what this thing looks like before I play it for you. HJ002. Did that work? No, that didn't work. Anyway, this is a recording of Rabbi Geller giving a sermon in 1949.
Thank you, Rabbi Malef, for your fine introduction. My friends, I am to tell you something about the Sabbath that comes between Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. These 10 days are called the Days of Penitence, and this Sabbath, the Sabbath of Repentance. Why has this Sabbath been designated by this name? And why has it been chosen out of the other 51 Sabbaths of the year? Because, my friends, it is called Shabbat Shuvah, and the portion that is read in the synagogue service from the prophet Micha begins with the words, Shuvah Yisroel, ki choshalto bavonecho. Return, O Israel, unto the Lord thy God, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity. In other words, these days.
All right, so I'm only pausing it there because of time. You can come here and listen to it yourself. I want to just play one more audio clip from this collection for you um, during our time together. And this has a really incredible story to it. And this relates also to that Beth Jacob banner. So one of the things that we're constantly trying to do is to connect with the descendants of the veterans on that Beth Jacob banner, the 220 men and women who fought in World War II and who were memorialized on that flag that was recovered from a garage in a family home in Southwest Houston. And through a friend of a friend, I got connected to Alan Herzog, who grew up here, but who lives now in Manhattan. And he heard about the project and saw that we had this flag. And he said to me, I've had my father's World War II memorabilia in a safe deposit box on the Upper East Side for decades, and I've had no idea what to do with it, right? Well, now I know. So he boxed it all up, and he sent it to us. And incredibly, one of the things that was in that collection was a recording that his father had made while he was stationed in Hawaii. There were, and I'm not an expert on this in any way, maybe you know more about this than I do, but during World War II, it was possible, corporations as kind of a publicity gimmick, set up recording stations on army bases, and you could record a message for your parents, for your wife, et cetera, back home, and they would, free of charge, right, Pepsi Cola or whoever would make this record for you. So we were able to digitize this record, and I'm just going to play a clip of it. So this is Max Herzog, I believe Corporal Max Herzog, recording a message for his wife and baby son back in Houston during the war.
Darling, this is a recording of my voice, unsponsored and without the courtesy of anyone but myself. I'm counting the days when I'll be with you and Bobby. Yeah, hurry up, Max. Bobby, this is your daddy talking to you and telling you that he loves you and hopes that he will be home soon with you and your wonderful mother. I am in the best of health, and with your letters coming in almost daily, my morale is tops. All these months we have been separated, you have been a real trooper, and I can't tell you how proud I am having you for the one and only girl in my life. When I started making this record, I thought I had lots to say, but now, really, I don't know what to say, and there are a few boys up here with me, so perhaps I can get them to put in a word or two. Hold on just a minute. This is a fellow by the name of Litchfield now.
Well, I don't know what to say neither, Max, except that, well, anyway, Max is fine, and he's a fine lad, and...
All right. I think that's all that's all my internet can take in terms of streaming video for you. That's okay. So again, we hope to continue adding and building to this collection as we move through the summer and into the fall. I know that my colleagues, Tracy and Katie and others are working hard to add stuff to this collection. So keep checking back every couple of weeks. I'm not gonna click on it, but the most recent thing that we added is a collection of newsletters from Congregation Knesset Israel in Baytown, which we're really, really pleased to have, and you can search through kind of on your own time. What I want to show you now is something that we don't, let's see. Here we go. This is a resource that I suspect many of you are completely unaware of, but it's really an incredible database of Texas history and also of Jewish history. So this is the portal to Texas history. This is a project that is sponsored by the University of North Texas. And it, as it claims to be, is a gateway to rare historical and primary source materials from or about Texas. And it already contains a wealth of information about Houston Jewish history. they are in the process of digitizing every issue of the Jewish Herald Voice ever. And that's not my initiative. That's something that's happening at the Herald Voice. And I don't know, I think I saw Aaron Howard is on the call. Maybe Aaron can tell us more about this. But this is a keyword searchable database. So you type in Jewish Herald Voice, and you can see it pulls up almost 1,100 matching results, and you can sort them any way you want. So I sorted it by the oldest record that's there. And if I click on it, here it is, right? This is the, if I can blow it up for you guys, here it is. This is the very first issue of the paper that we know of as the Jewish Herald Voice, which was formed by the merger of two Jewish papers in town. And here it is, right? This is incredible. And I can sit at home in my pajamas with my cup of coffee, and I can look for pretty much whatever I want. There are older issues than this that are called, you have to look for the Jewish Herald. If you look for the Jewish Herald Voice, you won't find before 1938. But here it is. Let me just see. Jewish Herald Voice, and
Bet your grandfather's in it.
Rice University. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't see anything specific to Rice University here. A lot of times with these databases, you have to play around with the search terms, and some search terms will work or not work. So here, I'm only searching inside this one issue from January 20th, 1938. But if I want to search all issues of, and you can see that they've got, much more recent issues here as well. I can organize by the oldest one. And here we are. And this is free, right? If you navigate to the portal to Texas history, you can spend hours getting lost in the back issues of our community newspaper, which is really wonderful. So I'm showing you this for two reasons. Number one, to make you aware of its existence. And number two, because the Houston Jewish History Archive has begun partnering with the Portal to Texas History, and we have already been sending and will continue to send some of our records to the University of North Texas to be digitized there and added to the Portal to Texas History. And I'm really excited to tell you that the first major item in our collections to receive this wonderful treatment will be the message of Beth Yeshurun. The bulletins from Beth Yeshurun are hopefully being digitized and will be added to this portal eventually. When, I don't know. Obviously, because of the pandemic, everything is on hold or slowed down or more complicated. But it's our hope and our mission that very soon you'll be able to, again, from the comfort of your home, be able to read every issue of the Beth Yeshurun Bulletin ever, and keyword search for yourself to find your bar or bat mitzvah announcement, your wedding announcement, those of your parents or friends or what have you. So it's a really exciting time in Houston Jewish history and Texas Jewish history. There are so many resources being made available online. The only problem is that it's hard to publicize them, right? To make people aware of the fact that these things are here. It's also one of the benefits, right? If you donate those Bris Shalom bulletins that you have, right, then it may become possible for everybody to read them and share them. So that's really, I think, a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'm going to pause again because I see there's a couple comments in the chat window. There's a question about what resolution or size do we need for scans, from Janice. Hi, Janice. Good question. I'm gonna take that question offline and bring in some technical experts. I think we usually like to work with 300 DPI, but that's a little bit inside baseball. So let me not go too far down that road. Okay, does anyone else have a comment or question about anything we've looked at so far? I hope you're having fun and enjoying and maybe learning something new. So what I want to do now is talk about what we've been doing since March. Obviously, in normal times, you would email me and you'd say, Josh, I just found my mother's papers from when she was president of Hadassah in the 1920s. And I pulled them out of the attic and they're in a box. And would you like them? And I would say, let me come to your home and we'll sit together on the couch in your living room and we'll look at them together. And obviously, for a number of reasons, I'm not really doing that and haven't been able to do that lately. We are still taking items for the archive. Usually either you leave it on your porch and I come pick it up, or you come drop it off on my front porch. And I know I saw Lauren Scharf at the beginning of the call. Lauren left some stuff on my front porch on Sunday, and we got to talk a little bit. And it's I was going to do some show and tell. There's some really incredible family scrapbooks and a San Jacinto high school class ring that she dropped off on my front porch on Sunday, but it's in the other room and I can't get to it. So we are taking some stuff for the archive right now in terms of physical materials, but a lot of the work that we're doing has necessarily shifted to online. So what I want to show you now is, and I've never shown this really to anybody outside of a few people. Hang on. Is the behind the scenes work that I'm doing to document Houston Jewish life in the time of coronavirus. So ever since March, it's become very obvious that we are living through a historical moment unlike anything in the last 100 years, right, since the last pandemic. Although our experience of pandemic, for a number of obvious reasons, is different than any other previous experience of pandemic. And we're all living this moment right now. So it's kind of funny to step outside of yourself and step outside of your daily experience and put your archivist hat on or your historian hat on and say, what is special or unusual about the day that I am having that historians in the future are going to want to look at or remember or be able to study. So on a constant basis, we are hunting for signs of Jewish life, not only Jewish life, but I would also say Jewish resilience, right? And a number of the people that I've talked to have marveled to me about the resilience of obviously our community and ourselves as individuals, but also the resilience of Judaism, right? That Judaism is able to meet this moment as it's met, so many other moments in the long history of the Jewish people. So this is the private, server where a lot of this stuff ends up. And you can see our effort is in partnership with institutions in the community, but also individuals to try to capture as much of the flavor of daily life during the pandemic as we can. So I'm going to show you just a couple examples of what this looks like. And then you, right now, today, as soon as this is over, can go back over your emails and maybe some of the Zoom meetings you've been in, and maybe look for examples of this that you might want to donate to this effort. So just in the last 48 hours, I have been working with Rabbi Strauss on Beth Yeshurun. Rabbi Strauss officiated a wedding in Colorado from his house in Bel Air. And so here's a picture of the couple under the chuppah. I grabbed this off Facebook this morning. Right, the couple is in Colorado under the chuppah, and Rabbi Strauss is reciting the Sheva brachot and the brachot of Kiddushin via Zoom to the couple. Right, that's how a Jewish wedding can still take place in July of 2020. And Rabbi Strauss shared with me that the conservative movement has offered new halakhic guidance, that is to say, new principles of Jewish law as to how to do a kosher wedding over Zoom, right? So obviously we want to be able to capture the Jewish Zoom wedding. So there's one example of that. Then, what do you do about conversion, right? Mikvah, traditional, mikvahot, and my wife Alicia is very passionate about mikvah and helps to coordinate the UOS community mikvah. But it's much harder to visit mikvah now than it normally is because of safety protocols. So the Beth Yeshurun conversion class completed their conversion process with immersion in the Gulf of Mexico. They went to Galveston and they dunked in the beach. So we need to capture that, right? So here they are, and this is Rabbi Sarah Fort kind of observing from afar. Obviously, right, nobody's naked. They're wearing loose-fitting clothing so that they can, again, dunk according to halakhic standards. But that's new, right? That's not the way we would do things normally. So this is, fresh, recent history that is really impactful. Let's see. I want to just show you a couple more things. This was a Bris Shalom bar mitzvah. Right, and so some of you may have been at this bar mitzvah some weeks ago. Right, so the family collected well wishes from family and friends in the community, and collected them to give to Aaron, and right, here they are. There you are, Janice. See, so all the ways in which Jewish life has been modified by the circumstances that we're living in, it's our job to try to capture. Let me show you just something else on this theme that is both probably very familiar to you, but if you like step outside for a minute and look at it, you'll say, whoa, that's really different. We do a lot of work. Can you all see this is a Facebook screenshot of Beth Israel services? We're all probably accustomed now to the Zoom Shabbat service in all its warts, right? All the good that it brings and all the challenges that it presents. But this was a screenshot that I took of Friday night services that were hosted by Beth Israel. This was back in May. And the fact that it was back in May is actually important because, again, as we all know, because this is real life right now, from week to week, synagogues are making new calculations and decisions about where to hold services, how to hold services, who can attend services. And so it's an ever unfolding process. But I just grabbed this Facebook screenshot of Friday night services at Beth Israel, and there are a number of things that are striking about it. Most striking about it to me as the, historian, archivist, observer, is that all the clergy of Beth Israel are present, but no two of them are in the same room at the same time. And so what you're seeing is a full clergy service, complete with music from cantor trumpeter, right? And Rabbi Scott and Rabbi Line and Rabbi Steinman are there. But everybody's at home. And yet everybody is all connected. And
Excuse me,
so,
Josh, I don't think what you're describing is what we're seeing.
no?
We're looking at a picture in
Emmanuel.
front of Emmanuel.
Just a screen,
Well,
just
that's funny. What do you see now? Nothing.
you.
Well, let's try that again. Thanks, Daniel. Did I
There
get it
you
right
go.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was sharing the wrong window in preview. What are you going to do? So everything I just said for the last 3 minutes, this is the image I was talking about. Right? That's kind of an incredible moment in the history of American Judaism. Not because we're streaming services, right? Streaming services is something's a technology that in the non-liberal movements of Judaism has been around for a while. But the fact that we're all doing it, or we're almost all doing it, rather, by necessity is new. And you're going to hear from Joe Buchanan in a few minutes about this. But one of the drawbacks to it, right, are obvious. The technological problems, the headaches of logging into Zoom, bad connections, the audio breaks, right? We've all lived this for the last several months. But then, you get to see, the comments of people following along and watching, and the reactions and the responses. And one of the kind of cool things that's happened is that we're all empowered with this ability, if we choose it, to shul hop, right, to synagogue hop in new ways. Because of Facebook Live and Zoom, I actually did this. I did this July 3rd, the first Friday night in July. I decided I was going to visit as many online Shabbat services as I could. Sorry, I got a FaceTime request from my daughter's friend. I can't do that right now. So I actually made it to 8 shuls on one Friday night. I went to Beth Israel. I went to Emmanuel. I went to Beth Yeshurun. I did the first part of Kabbalat Shabbat with Rabbi Gelman at UOS. I even went to Galveston and did a few minutes of Kabbalat Shabbat with Bnei Israel in Galveston. And again, I took a little sneaky snapshot of each one. And we'll probably continue to do that the first Friday of each month for as long as I can. Again, because the way we're doing services now might not be the way that we do services in August, depending on how the pandemic hopefully recedes, but may not. So it's a constant sort of struggle to stay on top of all of that. Let me see if I can just pull up this last, on that theme, the image that you all saw. Yeah, right. So this is what I think you were looking at when I was screen sharing before, and I was talking about Beth Israel, and you were looking at a picture of Emmanuel. So again, right, this is just a fleeting moment captured in time from Emmanuel Kabbalat Shabbat services. And Cantor Simmons is leading prayer. You can see her right in the top right-hand corner of the screen playing instrumental music on her guitar, and we're all instructed to pause for silent prayer. Silent prayer in normal times, and I'm just kind of riffing here, right, it's a communal experience, right? It's silent prayer because we're all silent together. Now, right, people watching this would have decided or not to be silent for a few moments at home in private. And also, right, what image are we looking at while we're having this moment of introspection, of meditation, of something, right? We're looking at an image of the building that we can't be in, right? That is off limits to us physically, and yet we've created this digital space, this digital building that we're all able to sort of inhabit and be in together. So that to me was a really powerful, kind of poignant image that felt like it needed to be captured. There are all kinds of considerations here, right? How much is too much? As we all know, Zoom videos are huge. They're long. It takes a long time to download them, to watch them. You kind of have to do your best to capture it all. It's like drinking from a fire hose. But this is literally the work that I and some of my colleagues are doing every day to try to stay on top of all of this. The other project that we're doing, while we're doing a lot less of physical collecting, is we've really rebooted and energized our efforts to do oral history, to interview you about what's happening to you. And we've done about 7 or 8 of these so far with Jewish Houstonians of different age groups, different backgrounds, different experiences, to talk about not only how your family came to Houston, but also how the pandemic has been affecting you in various ways, particularly in your professional lives. And so we record these interviews on Zoom. It has all the problems that Zoom brings. The feed will cut out. People will, talk over each other because we're not muted. So it's not a perfect medium, but it's the medium that we're all using now. So it seems appropriate to do this work this way. So I want to just play. Nobody's seen these before because we haven't made them public yet. But what I want to do is just show you a few minutes. Let me see if I can. Well, let me share it with you, and then I'll make it. Then I'll try to make it full time. So I'm going to show you a couple of these interview clips. Here we go. So I did a really incredible interview with Annette Betts and Jennifer Barnes of the Medallion. I think, one of the groups that has it the hardest, obviously, are the residents of places like the Medallion. Family can't visit them. They can't leave the building, right? So how are their needs being met? How are staff adapting to do even things as simple as bingo, right? How is bingo happening? So we recorded an interview with Annette Betts, the executive director, and Jennifer Barnes. I'm forgetting Jennifer's title. I'm sorry, Jennifer, about just a number of topics about life at the Medallion during coronavirus. And one of the topics we touched on was what was Passover like?
Well, normally Passover is, like you said, lots of cleaning, and we clean every apartment for anyone who want. Each president gets to tell you what degree they want their apartment cleaned. The rest of the Medallion, meaning the living room, all of the community areas, and the dining room and the kitchens, of course, are thoroughly cleaned from top to bottom. This year, they were cleaned. And then each resident was able, again, to tell us what they wanted done in their apartments as far as cleaning. We still had our Passover menus, and our Passover order came for the food. We prepared all of the menus for Passover, and normally we have 2 seders in our dining room, first seder and second seder, and of course we have our families that come to those seders with their loved one who lives here. So this year that didn't happen, of course. So what we did, we still had the same meal that we would have, first seder, second seder. It was served in their apartment. They each had a laminated colored Seder plate that about 6 of our residents had colored, enough for everybody to have. And we served the meal, we served wine, and we served the symbols of the Seder plate. And so each resident had that in front of them.
And the matzah.
And the matzah, right, and the matzah. And with the Haggadah, we had a very short version of the Haggadah. Our chaplain, Rabbi Erkowitz, helped us. He actually wrote that for us. And he came the first Seder, and from the front lobby area was able to use the Haggadah that he had prepared, and we had a Seder service over the speaker system that goes into our residents' apartments. So we did that, and then the second night we have a rabbi who lives here, and he conducted that service the second night. So the residents were able to enjoy Passover and be able to know that it was Passover, and they were having their Passover Seder.
So just a snippet of that. Again, it's a much longer interview. It touches on a lot of topics, and I'm looking forward to be able to publish that with you. That was a good one. Another one on kind of a lighter note, and we're getting towards the end here. I don't know how many of you are familiar with my good friend Joe Buchanan. Joe has a really fascinating story. He converted to Judaism as an adult when his wife of 13 years revealed to him at the Holocaust Museum that she was Jewish. Or maybe not quite revealed to him is the wrong word. You'll have to watch the interview someday soon to get the full story. But he converted to Judaism and has become a rising star in the world of Jewish music. He writes Jewish country music, Jewish country and folk music. He is a touring artist. He does Shabbat in residence programming all over the country. He's known well outside of the Houston area. And here you can see his amazing home recording studio, which I'm very jealous of. I asked Joe, what is life like for you as a performer, right? You can't do shows, you can't do scholar in residence, gigs in person anymore, right? So how are you coping as a performer? So that's something that we talked about, and I'm just going to let Joe talk to you for a few minutes about his recent experience.
That's a great question. We had, like anyone, we had to retool everything. So it sort of delayed a lot that we wanted to do, but now we're kind of getting the ball rolling. But from a live performance standpoint, we were doing these Shabbat services all over the place. And since we couldn't do that, I was like, well, we've built up quite a community around our Facebook page. And I thought, well, let me just, get great at going live on there. And so we started putting these weekly services together, and we're finding all these folks who they don't have a service that they go to, or maybe they used to go to services and they don't anymore and whatnot. And so we've built this community around that. And it wouldn't have happened if not for this. And of course, I'm still doing gigs for communities and doing a lot of Zoom concerts and things like that. But it's not only changed the nature of how we do this for the time being, I think it's forced a lot of artists to find new ways to connect with folks that they can help and that they can do this for, new ways to connect with people through their music. If they weren't on Facebook before, they sure are now. If they didn't have a Zoom account or anything like that before, they've sure got one now.
I didn't know what Zoom was. I didn't know what Zoom was in February. Right. Didn't know what it was. Zoom Golly Golly was about as close.
Everything.
Close as I got. That was a music joke. That was for you, Joe.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. I was doing the dance there for you.
So yeah, we have some fun. But I think one of the striking things about my conversation with Joe is that Joe is finding, and I've talked to other people for whom this is true, that there are so many people in the Jewish world who are unaffiliated, right? Who either they don't have a home congregation for one reason or another, or they're not going to services regularly, but now they can kind of virtually shop for whatever synagogue experience it is that they want. And so Joe is not able to do in-person concerts, but he's finding new audiences for his brand of Jewish music and Jewish worship on Facebook Live, people that might not have discovered him otherwise. So this has been really I'm not going to lie, it's been difficult in a lot of ways, as I'm sure it's been difficult for all of you in a lot of ways. But we are trying to make the best of it here at the archive and to use our time and our resources wisely to make sure that we don't let this moment slip through our fingers. So I'm gonna let Joe play us out, and then I'll come back to say goodbye and then maybe take a final comment or question. So one of the highlights of this interview is that Joe actually played a couple songs for us in the piece. So I'm gonna listen to some Joe. Let's see if I can find it here. Just a moment.
Or right on there, you can go check it out.
That's great. Thank you so much for doing this, Joe. I really appreciate it. Can we get one more song?
Oh yeah, you want to hear something kind of funny? Is that all right? I'll sing.
Yeah.
All right, a little upbeat. All right, I'm gonna play you. I'm gonna play you a song about Texas. Is that okay? Since we talked about it.
It couldn't be more perfect.
Okay, good. So in addition to Jewish communities and all that, I also play bars and regular venues, and I've got a little 6-piece band, and I do the same music in bars as I do in communities on the road. So the message is the same. But I've never been to Israel. It's something people ask me all the time. I've never been to Israel. I'm sure someday I'll go. I'm just 8 years old this year, so I'm still young. But I have been to Texas, and I do believe that the holiest place that you can be in, not just that we have a holy land, but your life and where you're standing is holy ground, because that's where your choices have led you. That's where your life's happening at. It's a holy thing, right? So I met God in Texas, and so this song is sort of about that. I'm going to take this earpiece out again here. All right, here we go. Yeah, well, I've never been to Israel, but I floated the Frio River. They don't make hummus at Neil's. They make a mean chicken dinner. The mesquite trees and them singing leaves always remind me of God. Floating back in tubes feels so darn good that it might get outlawed. Yeah, now Texas is like a holy land to me. It's a place where the heavens feel close, where God taught me to see. Yeah, and if I don't make my way across that sea someday, well, I'll be glad I lived in Texas, where I first found a reason to pray. Pick it up. Well, when I was a kid, I was trouble born, trouble did. No one thought I'd make it to 15. I was such a mess. What a struggle, and well, I did my best in the getting good. It was getting pretty lean. I believe God's where you are. We met under that lone star between you and God. There ain't no one between. So if you're feeling down, well, my friend, just come on down to the state where the name means anything but me. Hey now, Texas is like a holy land to me. Oh yeah, it's a place where the heavens feel close. Every God taught me to see. And if I don't make my way, I'll make my way across that sea someday. I'm glad I lived in Texas where I first found reason to be. I'll be glad I lived in Texas where I first found the reason to pray. I'll be glad I lived in Texas where I first found the reason. Yeah, now to pray. Hey!
Wow. Amazing. All right, folks. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed it. I've really had fun getting to share with you all the great work that we've been doing. And it really, and I say this honestly and from the heart, it wouldn't be possible without you. So many of you have donated materials to us, papers, photographs. You've supported us financially. You've spread word about this project through, to family and friends. And I really deeply appreciate it. I hope you all stay well, stay safe. Please reach out to me if you have a question, if you have a suggestion, if you want to try to work on a collection or any other kind of project with us. And we'll see you soon, whether it's back on Zoom or in person. Have a good rest of your summer, y'all. Be well.
Good job, Josh.
Hi, Josh. This was outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
You bet. Bye-bye now.
Bye.